Lamine Yamal steps into McDonald's, looks left, sees Pulisic, looks right, sees Jimenez. Gives a nod to Ronaldinho in the corner with a FIFA World Cup meal. Ronaldinho sees Son in the booth. Son finds Beckham going for extra Big Mac sauce. He's got Davies at the table just behind him. Davies going for his collectible cup. But a steal by Henry, who pulls his own collectible cup. Collect one of 9 legendary cups with a FIFA World Cup meal.
At participating McDonald's for a limited time while supplies last. All rights reserved. 2026 McDonald's at FIFA World Cup 2026.
Flowing ad budget on metrics that look great till the CFO sees them. That's bull spend. And marketers are calling it out in Dashboard Confessions.
I remember telling my boss, it'll be good for the brand, when leads were slow. Yeah, it wasn't.
Cut the bull spend. LinkedIn lets you target by company, job title, and more. Advertise on LinkedIn. Spend $250 on your first campaign and get a $250 credit. Go to linkedin.com/campaign. Terms and conditions apply.
Welcome into 49ers Access. My name is Sterling Bennett. In off-season where we're looking at how good the San Francisco 49ers can be in 2026, we are unfortunately distracted by the nuisance that is and has become Brandon Aiyuk. Not necessarily on the roster, albeit by contractual obligation he is, but he wants to be out of town. He wants to be gone. He's made it pretty clear. And over the weekend, he's made that even more clear. But today, June 27th, Aiyuk revealed more than he ever has on his YouTube channel. We're going to watch the video because he talks about why and the reasoning behind him firing his agent, Ryan Williams. He also calls out John Lynch and Kyle Shanahan. One of them directly by name, the other one not so much. But we also do get a little more insight into what may have happened to not cause the initial domino to fall, but what happened afterwards and how the Niners tried to essentially clean up the mess that is now Brandon Aiyuk. Don't forget to like, share, subscribe to the show. Leave us a 5-star audio podcast review. If you can, also use that promo code 49ers Access, 49 ERS ACCESS at SeatGeek.com to save yourself $20 off your first purchase at SeatGeek.com. Concerts, sporting events, doesn't matter. Get yourself a discount when you can. And look, I think the video we're going to watch today, all 3.5 minutes or so of it, is the most damning video evidence to make any team not want to sign Brandon Aiyuk. Did he accuse the San Francisco 49ers of some things? Yeah. Was it his attempt to make the 49ers look bad? Yes. I think he failed in the latter. There are some things within it that do make some people look, questionable, but none of them are the San Francisco 49ers. None of them is John Lynch and Kyle Shanahan. The way Brandon Aiyuk speaks in the video as if he is the victim of this, I don't want to say conspiracy, but he also alludes to that. If the Niners are up to something, it's baffling, it's head-scratching, and it continues to be the downfall of a 28-year-old man that is unafraid of the repercussions that may stand in front of him. So with that in mind, let's watch what Brandon Aiyuk had to say on his YouTube channel today, June 27th, that has now been posted on X via Coach Yak. So Brandon Aiyuk, answer us this question. What exactly transpired with you and your agent, and what led to you firing him 8 months ago?
Oh, you thought I was done? Man, get your ass up. Come here. All right, y'all. So I understand that a lot of y'all is new here. And so I'm going to just fill y'all in and give y'all the details so that everybody can understand. The reason why the agent being fired is such an important detail in this whole story is because that agent is also the agent of the general manager for that one team. And that agent really started this whole shit because I fired his ass, but he want to text my wife like he's smart. Nigga, don't ever text my wife. Your ass fired. Your ass grass. Get up out of here. Get gone.
Okay, so let's pause it right there. Aiyuk, who revealed to the world over the weekend that he fired his agent. He no longer has an agent. No longer has representation. It's just Brandon Aiyuk against the world. Just Brandon Aiyuk, who now negotiates his contracts, who now deals one-on-one with whatever team. Maybe it's San Francisco 49ers. There's no middleman. There's no buffer for Aiyuk and insert said team. The reasoning behind him firing Ryan Williams, his agent, according to Aiyuk himself, you heard it with your own ears, is because he's also John Lynch's agent. That sounds as if Brandon Aiyuk wanted to sever every possible tie to the 49ers possible. Which, okay, you're upset, you're bitter, you're angry. We'll get to why that doesn't make sense later on in the video, because he does mention that, and it just it's a mess. So okay, you fire your agent because he is also John Lynch's agent. And I don't know if you can see on the video on the screen here on YouTube, but he had a little caption below him speaking, and he kind of said that his former agent, Ryan Williams, may not be John Lynch's agent anymore. He's not sure because he thinks, or in the quotation, they think they slick. What does John Lynch have to lose or gain by firing his agent because he used to be your agent? What exactly would that do? What would that hide? What are you alluding to? Of their slick, John Lynch changing agents, which is the one that you happen to share? Are you alluding to there being some collusion in place? Okay, if that's what you're alluding to, then say that. Don't just type on the screen, that used to be John Lynch's agent, and I fired him. And I think it's weird that Aiyuk's former agent did text his wife, but I'm going to go on a limb here and say that the reasoning behind your former agent, which we have no idea when the initial text came out, but he did say the agent texted his wife last night, that being June 26th, when I'm sure the world got news of Aiyuk no longer having an agent, when in fact, according to Pro Football Talks Mike Florio, Aiyuk is still represented by Ryan Williams. That has not been updated under the black book of the NFL. That has not changed. And according to PFT, the agent cannot get a hold of Aiyuk either. So Aiyuk can say he fired him, which maybe that's true, and the NFL has yet to update their books, which you would think 8 months ago is a long time. It's not like they're doing much under the Aiyuk banner where they couldn't be like, hey, intern, whatchamacallit, I need you to go in the back end and change this information. That takes 2 seconds. Players change agents all the time, representation all the time. Those things are updated instantly. It does not take 8 months to do so. And the fact is they haven't done it yet likely indicates Aiyuk probably still has his agent. And just isn't answering the phone calls. Or Aiyuk never fired him. Maybe the agent dropped him. Maybe the agent, after multiple phone calls, said, I just can't do this anymore. Which would go in contradiction to what NFL Network's Mike Garafolo reported a couple of months ago, that the agent never fired Aiyuk, that Aiyuk is still under the representation of Ryan Williams. So someone's lying. Now, it isn't beyond the NFL and their teams involved, all 32, to lie. And I'm not saying that's not possible, but who does that benefit? To make Aiyuk look crazy? I don't think they need help to make him look any more nuts than he is. I think withholding your services for 8 months is enough to make people question you. Losing out on millions of dollars is enough to question you willingly. And then not doing what it takes to then get released, which we'll get into more of as well. So Aiyuk's first little spiel, if you will, is the reason he's fired his agent, which he may or may not have actually done, is because that's also John Lynch's agent. Okay, you want to sever ties with the entire Niner organization or anyone close to them? Fine. He then claims his fired agent texted him his wife last night. If he fired you or you fired him 8 months ago, why would the agent feel any obligation to then text you? If you are not represented by him, he doesn't owe you any lick of protection. He doesn't owe you anything. So why is he willingly texting you? Maybe it was to tell your wife, hey, Aiyuk never fired me. Paperwork never went through. Like, I know Aiyuk's saying these things. It's not true. If you want to fire me, by all means, go ahead. I'm going to be okay. Just fine without you. But why would Aiyuk's former quote-unquote agent text your wife? Now, that in itself is weird, but the odds are, because no one can get a hold of you, Brandon Aiyuk, they're going through other channels to reach you. This happens all the time, not even in football. Hey, if you're a child and you want to talk to mom, so you call home. Back in the day, you used to call the landline, but nowadays you call the cell phone number. And sometimes if your mom doesn't answer a cell phone, who do you then call? Dad's cell phone number. If brother or sister still live at home and you aren't there, who do you then call? Your brother or sister. Hey, can I talk to mom? Is mom there? It's not like going through other channels of communication to reach somebody is out of the ordinary. Now, if you fired the guy, that is weird. But it kind of sounds like you didn't fire him. Now, you're speaking out of your butt, but maybe I'm wrong. Maybe Brandon Aiyuk is right. We'll give Aiyuk, in this case, the benefit of the doubt. He wants to sever ties with the 49ers, and his agent, by all means, go ahead. Whether it happened or not, he has, by all intents and purposes, cut off communication from the Niners and his agent. Essentially meaning he really isn't represented, although maybe he's still under the banner of the representation. But it gets worse. That's the tip of the iceberg of the video for Brandon Aiyuk. Let's bring it back up here for the YouTube audience and let Aiyuk continue for what he had to say on June 27th.
Okay. Anyway. So he is also the agent for the general manager of that team. And
I also love quickly here that Aiyuk refuses to say the name of the 49ers like they're Voldemort. Like, if you mention the name 49ers or John Lynch, they're going to find you. It's not Bloody Mary, brother. You can say the 49ers. Clearly, you're doing it for a purpose, but it's funny because he is like almost 29 years old. I'm almost 30 this year. We're almost the exact same age. And to hear someone sound this immature of refraining from saying said person's name is what someone that wants to be petty does. For all the accusations of the Niners are being petty, Aiyuk won't even say their name in a 3-minute video when he's trying to make them look like the victim. But Aiyuk, continue. I apologize for interrupting.
These niggas is all weird. weirdos, creepy predators. I would never, ever, ever fuck with these niggas. I would never, ever, ever fuck with these niggas. I don't care how long I gotta wait to get to you, my baby. But if it involves fucking with them niggas first, I'm waiting. General manager gonna pull.
Okay. Oh, Aiyuk. Oh, Brandon. So the first off, he calls the Niners, and so you'd have to assume that includes John Lynch and Kyle Shanahan, all those included in a leadership position in San Francisco, quote unquote, creepy predators. Creepy predators. At what point can they sue him for defamation, for libel, for slander, one of the above? Now, I know, I'm sure they're just like, let him paint himself into a corner, let him dig his own grave. If he wants to go 6 feet deep in 6x6, by all means, we'll let him jump right in. We're not going to stop him. Hence why they aren't saying anything about this now 8 months into it. But okay, he calls John Lynch and Kyle Shanahan creepy predators. I'm assuming that is an allusion to what he'll say next about John Lynch. But even then, to use those two words together implies something pretty bad, which with what he says next, I don't think those are the two words I would use as adjectives about what John Lynch does, because it really isn't that bad. Like, Aiyuk trying to paint himself as this victim of, oh, the Niners did this and did that. When you get down to it, and we'll kind of hit on this towards the end, the worst thing they do is kind of what a good friend would do, if anything. But the next part is, and this I think is where you, myself, the Niners win. If you're on the team of let Aiyuk suffer, let him be out there, make himself look like just the most idiotic, immature, near 30-year-old, 28-year-old man that got paid $120 million a year and got everything he wanted, let him do it. If you're on that team, like myself, like many of you out there are, like the 49ers, I think, are hoping to remain on, him telling the world, his YouTube audience, and the NFL, in a way, that he'll never, ever, ever, shout out Chris Jericho, mess with the 49ers again, and will wait as long as he needs to play football again. So, one, he says he wants to play again. That's the first time we've really heard that out of his mouth, I think, for the last 8 months. So there is an indication Aiyuk does want to play football, but for the 49ers and to kind of, I guess you can say, pump themselves up and go, this long play may end up working, Aiyuk's willing to wait. He's not going to force their hand because he simply does not want to mess with the 49ers. Now, going back to the agent stuff, a lot of podcasters, media members are like, okay, if you want out of San Francisco so bad, fine. Wouldn't you then take the necessary steps to do so? That would imply filing for reinstatement, taking a physical, coming to training camp, at least showing face for a day or so, make the Niners look like they are then holding you hostage, albeit that's not currently happening. Does he know he has to? Because he's not talking to the agent? Does he understand that he has to file for reinstatement? The reason maybe he hasn't done so is because he doesn't know he has to. But maybe the other reason why he hasn't done so is because he is so stuck in his ways, so dug into his stance of, I'm not going to mess with the 49ers in any way. That includes trying to get reinstated. That includes coming to training camp, taking a physical, and showing up to Levi Stadium. And he doubles down later, but this, to me, this video is a massive win for San Francisco. Hearing this out of his mouth is the biggest win they could have had throughout the entire process. Because if he shows up and files for reinstatement, that sucks. Like, that means they don't get more money back. It means that he'll get what he wants in a roundabout way. But him saying, I'm not ever going to mess with those guys again, the implication would be that you're not going to come to practice. You're not going to show up and file for reinstatement. And Brandon, at that point in time, you lose. Until you do so, you lose. And the Niners continue to win and make money back off your name. You continue to lose more and more and more of what you were guaranteed. And it looks like, and I've said it for the last couple of weeks or so, his pride. He is so unwilling to take a hit to his pride, to admit, to gain what I want, I had to lose something in the process. Like, Brandon, obviously your agent isn't advising you, but it is as simple as, to get what you want, you need to file for reinstatement and show up. To get what you want, you have to be a little humble. And really, it isn't about being humble. It's just about going through the correct channels. And because you're so unwilling to do business with them, and by business, I mean just saying, I want to come back to make you cut me, you don't want to do that. So what's the end game here? You want to play football again, but you refuse to do the one thing that can make you play football again. But you're willing to wait as long as it takes, according to his own words, until you can play football again. Buddy, they own you through 2029. They own you, right? 28. They owned you in 2024, the last year of your rookie deal. They owned you in 2025, this past season. They own you in 2026, this year. They own you in 2027, and they own you in 2028. You may have to wait 3 full seasons if you want to wait it out, if you want to play that game. And you know who will joyfully join you in that wait? The San Francisco 49ers, the name you will not say. You know who will gladly take all the money back they give you and void every single penny they are going to give you in the future, and make sure that by the time you are the age of 30, 31, you haven't played football for 4 years, and nobody will know if you're in shape, if you want to play again? The Niners are willing to play this game with you, Brandon. No matter how many videos you post on YouTube, on social media, the Niners are going to wait you out until you say enough. They are good letting you throw temper tantrums and say all this thing about their name and not want to say their name and call them creepy predators, which could be a viable case to sue you. But they're good, man. You are playing a losing battle. And if you're willing to, and he talks about this later, if you are willing to lose every penny and wait the next 3 years, by all means, do so. That is exactly what they want. You are playing into the 49ers' hand by saying you're going to wait. You're not gaining anything. You're losing everything. And if money isn't a big deal to you, fine. But if you want to play football again, you'll cut the nonsense and you'll file for reinstatement and you'll show up. You'll do some sort of business with the 49ers. To get what you want, you have to make sure San Francisco doesn't get what they want. But right now, you're playing right into their hand. When John Lynch and Kyle Shanahan, I'm sure have seen the video by now, heard you say, I'll wait as long as it takes, they popped bottles. They cheered. They said, oh my God, he's really going to do exactly what we want. and they snickered and they smiled and said, God, it's a great day. You don't think they're not going to want $20 million back, if not more, every year for the next 3 seasons? Come on, Brandon. You have to be smarter than that. You have to be.
Study and play come together on a Windows 11 PC. And for a limited time, college students get the best of both worlds. Get the Unreal College Deal. Everything you need to study and play with select Windows 11 PCs. Eligible students get a year of Microsoft 365 Premium and a year of Xbox Game Pass Ultimate with a custom color Xbox wireless controller. Learn more at windows.com/student offer. While supplies last. Ends June 30th. Terms at aka.ms/collegepc.
But we'll let Aiyuk continue talking himself into a pit. What do you have for us next, Brandon, in your video?
Look to my house. Oh, weirdo. Like, bro, don't put house. Oh, we're all fucking with them niggas first.
Going back for a
I'm
second.
waiting.
Here we go.
General manager gonna pull up to my house. Oh, weirdo. Like, bro, don't pull up to my house uninvited, boy. Shit ain't safe. The fuck?
Okay, let's pause there. So Brandon Aiyuk is saying that the Niners GM, John Lynch, pulled up to his house uninvited. And Brandon Aiyuk says, it ain't safe. Now, the last part can mean a lot of things, but I would just say seriously, like, it ain't safe. I'm not going to make a big deal about that because that's just kind of a phrase people use and, you know, they'll toss it out there. But you said it. What are you trying to say, BA? It ain't safe. You act like you don't live in a mansion somewhere, probably behind a gated fence. It ain't safe. It's probably the safest place you can possibly be. Of all places. It's not like you live in Inglewood or Compton, brother. It's like you live in the south side of Detroit. On the wrong side of the tracks in Chicago. You live in a mansion in the Bay Area. You've been in Virginia, in Arizona. It ain't safe talking like you're going to hurt John Lynch. Like somebody else is going to hurt John Lynch seeing a GM pull up and go, who's that guy? No, stop it. But, so John Lynch pulls up to Brandon Aiyuk's house. Comes to his house uninvited. Which, okay. It's weird. I don't know. We don't know. He doesn't say when exactly this transpired. Could it have happened in the middle of you being AWOL? And he just said, I'm going to go to his house. He isn't picking up my phone calls. He isn't picking up Kyle Shanahan's phone calls. No one's gotten a hold of him. I'm just going to go to his house and surprise him and try to talk things out. Now, that is obviously making the 49ers look good, but without Aiyuk saying a timeline, giving us a descriptor of when this exactly happened, that's kind of all you can assume. Why would John Lynch pull up in June of this year, 2 weeks ago? Why would he pull up after the end of the regular season and the playoffs when he openly said he's played his last snap in San Francisco? Like the last 4 months, you're doing everything they want you to do. So my assumption is John Lynch didn't pull up in 2026. My assumption is John Lynch pulled up when you decided to go AWOL and no one can get a hold of you. And nobody knew where Brandon Aiyuk was. That's when John Lynch pulled up. Now, that's obviously an assumption on my end, but that has to be, like, that makes the logical sense. Oh, John Lynch pulled up unannounced. Guarantee you he didn't do it the last 6 months. I guarantee you he did it when you went AWOL after week 6, 7, or 8. When you were gone from October to December and didn't show face in the building. When we learned publicly that they voided your guarantees, and Kyle and John both said, we haven't talked to BA in forever. We have no idea where he's at. We have no idea how to get hold of him. He isn't answering our calls. After you fired your agent. Because why would John pull up at a random Tuesday in the middle of 2026 when this entire calendar year so far, he has said, you ain't going to be a San Francisco 49er. I'm assuming John Lynch pulled up in October, sometime in November, when you decided that you were going to play games and go 0 dark 30. And John was like, I'm going to do a wellness check on the guy. I'm going to go to his house and figure out what is going on. Because what Aiyuk says next kind of shows that he knew John was coming over. I'll let, of course, Brandon Aiyuk explain in the only way he can.
But I knew his ass was going to do it.
It's right there. Uninvited. But I knew he was coming over. All right.
So I'm looking at my camera, my front door camera. I see a big old white boy, white man, former NFL safety. And I'm like, oh, hell no. And I know my wife is about to be back home soon. So I had to call my wife and say, it's a big ass white man at the house. I don't know what he doing over there. He was not invited. Shit creepy. So if you on your way home, probably spin the block a few times because I don't know what bro on.
Okay. So let's get back into this. So I like how Brandon Aiyuk is trying to make it seem like John Lynch is this big imposing figure that is coming to shake him down. Like, you're not talking to Tony Soprano. He's your boss wanting to know why you're not coming to work. I don't think that's too crazy. Now, if my boss came to my house on a random, Tuesday and was like, where you at? I'd be like, why are you here? Why are you here? But so Aiyuk knows he's there. It's not like Aiyuk is held up and can't walk. He clearly was walking and rehabbing at the facility a month and a half into the year. He can walk to the front door and tell John to F off if he wants to. He can tell John, I don't want to talk to you. Bye. He can come face to face, man to man, and have a conversation with his boss. Something Aiyuk clearly is unwilling to do. And the other side of this is, well, why would you want to? Why would Brandon Aiyuk want to talk to somebody he believes has accosted him, has done him wrong? Because they hold your meal ticket to the next life, brother. That's why. It all goes back to you don't want to do business with them. And it's funny because he's saying, I have to call my wife. I'm watching this big-ass white guy on cameras. Like John Lynch is trying to break into his house and bust in the door when I'm sure John's just like, knock, knock, knock. Brandon, you home? I just want to talk to you, Brandon. Come on, Brandon. You know I was coming over. I told you I was coming over. Even if you don't want me here, I just want to have a conversation. Let's talk. Come on. Man to man. Tell me what you want. Tell me how you feel. Like, we can get through this. Or if you can't get through it, we can at least have that conversation and make the business choices to then figure this thing out when we have to. Because you don't think the San Francisco 49ers didn't want Brandon Aiyuk back in 2025? You don't think they couldn't have used Brandon Aiyuk back last season? You don't think had Aiyuk not gone AWOL, he wouldn't have played for the 49ers in 2025? Like, if we are to believe, because I don't believe it happened in this calendar year, if we are to believe that this happened sometime in 2025 after Aiyuk went AWOL, that makes the most sense, that John Lynch is likely trying to get a player back, trying to not only help Brandon Aiyuk back, but also help his team out when they're watching Juwan Jennings get hurt and Ricky Pearsall get hurt. John Lynch probably came to the door and was like, hey, man, like, where you been? What's going on? Why don't you want to talk to me? But also trying to plead to get somebody he believes was at one point in time worth $120 million back to play football with him. Now, maybe that's wishful thinking. Maybe the timeline's completely wrong on my behalf. Whatever. That's fine. But Aiyuk trying to make it seem like John Lynch is this nefarious, dude trying to come to the door and shake him down, take him for all he's worth. And I guess in a weird way, like send a warning shot across the bow, intimidate Aiyuk and his wife in some capacity, to which John Lynch could easily go to jail for that. You can get arrested for that and likely be fired for that. Why would John Lynch, who has shown no signs of doing that in his last near decade of being with the 49ers or his near 20-year-long NFL career, why would he risk that? He has kids. He has a Hall of Fame career. He has a job with one of the most prestigious organizations in the entire league. Why would he risk losing that for you? Unless he truly cared. You know, we'll get to more of this, or this will make sense when Aiyuk is done talking. But either Brandon Aiyuk is 100% right, and this is all weird and awkward, and the Niners are bad, but this is an outlier case, no matter which way you look at it. All the other players that have had some beef with the 49ers, which it's mainly all stemmed from Parag and Jed in the discussions of contracts and negotiations. And John's involved in that too. But it's mainly been Parag, even Deebo Samuel, who's very outspoken about, they said some things in those meetings that I didn't like, that were really hard to get over. That was John and Parag. And maybe a little bit of Jed. It wasn't Kyle. But he even said those were the discussions. We moved past those. But even then, even Deebo saying those things and getting butthurt about them and maybe them have lingering effects on his relationship with John and Kyle and the organization. Kittle hasn't had those. And Kittle admits, yeah, they're tough negotiations. Purdy hasn't had those. Trent has done it 3 separate times. He hasn't had those talks. Chris McCaffrey, also same thing, 2 different times. Hasn't had those thoughts. Fred Warner, 2 different times. Hasn't had those thoughts. So that's what makes it so hard to believe when Brandon Aiyuk speaks. Because if the Niners are wrong and they've done something they shouldn't have, they should be held accountable. If they've done something that organizations shouldn't do, then I'm all ears, Brandon. Let me know what they did that they shouldn't have done. But you're almost painting the 49ers in a better light when you tell us that John came to the door, uninvited. Okay, that's weird, but likely to check up on you because you ain't picking up phone calls. I don't think Brandon Aiyuk realized what this video was doing. Now, Commanders fans will eat it up and say, oh, Brandon, look, he's a victim. No, man. I don't think Brandon Aiyuk, from his POV, understands he's not making the Niners look bad. For the most part, at least. Again, coming to someone's house uninvited, it's a little uncomfortable. Fine. Is that the worst thing they did? Because it's not that bad. It's really not that bad. But Aiyuk continues. This time he calls out Kyle Shanahan. Here's BA.
Weird. The same general manager that tried to run me down and come apologize for his head coach because his head coach got a temperament of a fucking toddler and was speaking out the side of his fucking mouth to me. Knowing that you got it, bro. You got it, bro. What I'm going to do in here, beat you up? Come on, bro. Like, come on, bro. You just talking crazy because you know you can talk crazy. But you feel me? Niggas going to respect me or I'm going to get on, bro.
Okay, the next thing. So now he calls out Kyle Shanahan. Won't say his name either. Won't say the Niners' name. Won't say John Lynch's name. Won't say Kyle Shanahan's name. He says that John Lynch, whether it's in this time when Lynch comes uninvited or not, maybe it's that time, maybe it's not, maybe it's a different time, I don't know, says that John Lynch tries to apologize for something Kyle Shanahan said. to Brandon Aiyuk directly. Because according to Aiyuk, Shanahan has the temperament of an effing toddler and was, quote unquote, speaking out of the side of his mouth to Aiyuk, knowing nothing will happen to Kyle Shanahan. So there's the power dynamic implication there of like, I can talk to whoever I want to. I'm your boss. They can fire me, this, that, and the other. But also, not to say that Kyle Shanahan is the easiest person to get along with. We can talk all night and day about Shanahan's stubbornness, his choices come playoff time, his play calling coming into question in rather big moments, his failures as a head coach, and even an offensive coordinator. I'm not saying Kyle Shanahan doesn't run hot sometimes. I've seen Shanahan run hot personally at times. I've been to practice when there's been an NFL player safety person running on the football field and Shanahan has no idea who he is and is screaming in his face. I'm not saying Kyle is the easiest person to get along with. But it's not like anybody else has had that problem. Now, look, if you have kids, you know, sometimes one kid's an angel and one kid's a demon. And you have to discipline people different ways. And I'm not saying that Aiyuk was being disciplined, but we do know that Kyle and Aiyuk have a rather interesting relationship. Kyle, who clearly wanted to draft Aiyuk, fist pumping come draft night. It was like, oh, we got him. Like, this was the receiver I wanted all along in the first round. Ecstatic to have him. Plays rookie season out, then goes in the doghouse the next year. Okay. You know, clearly, Aiyuk, who, at least at that point in time, seemed kind of quiet and, you know, mild-mannered, and maybe if there was problems, they were all held and taken care of behind the scenes. I'm sure him and Kyle have talked plenty of times, but it doesn't seem like you had a problem with Kyle when he was the one, because you told him personally you were going to sign the contract for $120 million. So clearly, the issues that were at hand happened after you signed the deal and weren't big enough up until signing. So even if there was some bumpy roads there, which I'm sure there is, it's football, it's egos involved, it's my way or the highway sometimes. The only true sign we have of Shanahan being not on your side, besides where we are at now, is when you didn't wear the correct shorts during practice. Now, I'm sure Kyle and Aiyuk have had other conversations post that day because he was healthy for 7 weeks into that season and was around the facility for chunks of last year. So it's not like that was the last conversation they've had. That is the last publicly displayed conversation we've known they've had. And you were wrong, Brandon, in that case. So if that's the instance you're speaking of, which I don't think it is, because he wouldn't have the leg to stand on. And if it is, buddy, come on, be better than that. But let's assume that it's not that moment. It's throughout the back and forth. Something had to have happened to make Aiyuk want to go AWOL. And that's what we're still missing. Aiyuk did not go AWOL after they took away the guarantees. Something must have been said and transpired between voiding guarantees and him going AWOL. So I want to put my tinfoil cap on here, because if Aiyuk's claims of John Lynch coming to his house, attempting to apologize for what Kyle said, that leads me to believe that him and Shanahan got into it at the facility, or maybe over the phone at some point in time, but likely at the facility. Maybe it had to do with the rehab or something like that. I don't know. And it was so bad that the fallout of that was Aiyuk saying, I'm going AWOL. I don't want to be here anymore. You've disrespected me to the nth degree. And John trying to mend fences, which, I mean, at that point, John Lynch is a saint, trying to do so, went to Aiyuk's house to coerce him back over and let cooler heads prevail. And Aiyuk said no. So if you're putting, the puzzle pieces together, Aiyuk did not go AWOL after the guarantees were gone. And he was there until week 6, 7, or 8, according to George Kittle. So in the middle of October, or somewhere towards the end of October, which would have been roughly a year to the date of Aiyuk's 1-year injury anniversary, him and Kyle got into it. And Kyle said something, maybe many things, to Aiyuk about the rehab, about the contract, about his attitude, about something we don't know, that pissed Aiyuk off to a point of never wanting to come back. And John Lynch went to Aiyuk's house to try to mend that fence and rebuild that relationship. Get Aiyuk back in the building, and Aiyuk said no. Does that make Kyle the villain here? Does that change your mind about Brandon Aiyuk? Because if I'm Aiyuk and I don't care and I don't have guarantees and I'm good sitting around waiting, why don't you tell us what exactly was said? Because I really don't think Shanahan is the guy that would go to a point that would be so far beyond repair in discussions with Aiyuk, because you don't think other players haven't pissed Kyle Shanahan off? You don't think Deebo Samuel, Devondre Campbell haven't pissed him off enough to make him more mad? So while we can sit back and theorize, what did Kyle Shanahan do? And that's fine. Now I'm doing that. I'd have to ask, what made Shanahan do that to one player over his near decade of coaching? So 90 men each season. This is the one guy he's yelled and screamed at to a point of that player never wanting to even say his name again. Either Aiyuk is a victim of Shanahan's workplace abuse, or Brandon Aiyuk is and did something so stupid and idiotic that it pushed Shanahan that far. Now, sometimes those things can be equally true. I don't think there is this black and white answer. There is a morally gray area here of like, Aiyuk probably did something he probably wasn't supposed to do, or said something he wasn't supposed to do to Kyle, and Kyle just reamed him over the coals, and it's not like Aiyuk was around the team. So this conversation must have been private, because if it's a phone call, it certainly is private. But Aiyuk was not practicing with the team. He was coming in the morning before the team got there. So that means Kyle was there, Aiyuk was there, maybe a scattered players or so coming in early, and maybe a trainer or so. And they must have got into it. At least that's what Aiyuk is getting at here, or at least what it sounds like. And that may in some way paint Kyle in a negative light, but it's not like Kyle runs hot 24/7. You've seen the press conferences. You've seen the videos. Usually it takes something for Kyle to get there. So while we can all sit back and go, why did Kyle do this? And man, if Kyle could have been quiet or could have bit his tongue, what did Aiyuk do to get him there? My father always says this: it takes two to tango. It takes two to have an argument. It takes two to cause an issue this bad. I'm not saying San Francisco is completely absolved of any, causation. But this is the only player this has happened to. That doesn't make me believe that Aiyuk's in the right. Now, I'm sure Kyle had to say something to him. But that doesn't make me lean towards Aiyuk's side of the fence going, you know what? Maybe BA is a victim. It more so sounds like you did enough things to piss off the one guy that was mainly always on your side and lost your only safety net in that building. You burned that bridge of the only person that was willing to not trade you, Brandon Aiyuk. And now you want to go on YouTube and be like, man, Kyle was saying a bunch of stuff out of the side of his mouth. And it's really hard for me to believe Brandon Aiyuk. But we'll let Aiyuk finish his thoughts because, God, I'm sure there's a billion more waiting for us down the road. But continue, BA.
Get on, bro. I'm going to get on, bro. So the story is I don't fuck with them niggas, and I never will. But I forgive niggas. You feel me? You feel me? I'm trying to get better. I'm trying to grow. I'm trying to heal. So I ain't finna hold it against niggas, but we is not cool. We won't be cool, and I will never be stepping in that building except for on October 19th when I come through with that motherfucking belt.
Ladies and gentlemen, Brandon Aiyuk, folks. Give him a round of applause for a 3.5-minute rant about the San Francisco 49ers. So,
this episode is brought to you by Perfect Bistro Cat Food. Cats, this ad is for you. Has your human ever called you picky, persnickety, choosy? If so, Perfect Bistro Cat Food is for you. With ingredients like wild-caught tuna and pasture-raised lamb, tantalizing textures, and delectable flavors that meet even the most discerning cat standards. You're not picky, you're just perfectionists. Perfect Bistro, mealtime perfection for every cat. Have your human visit perfectbistro.com.
The ending of this video is essentially Aiyuk saying that the Niners stopped respecting him, so he stopped respecting them. That they did something to him that was so disrespectful, probably what Shanahan said, that he then lost respect for them. And it pushed them to a point of not wanting to mess with them, say their name, do business with them at all. I'm not sure if you caught it, though. Again, he has little subtitles in the bottom of his screen where he said, I don't give a hoot how many millions I have to lose as long as I get respect. Going back to him playing right into their hand. Brandon, you may not fear losing all that money. That's fine. It's fine. You may not see the value in losing all of that money. The Niners see the value in gaining back all that money. And I'm pretty sure they can fine him every day he doesn't show up. So, and maybe that's wrong of me, but I'm pretty sure they can revoke the guarantees this year, remove more money off his contract as each year goes by until he does come to practice reports. But I'm also pretty sure they can fine him every single day he's not there. Meaning, he'll not only lose what he's owed, he'll lose what he has. And I don't know, you put 1 + 1 together. If he wants to wait the next 3 more years to get this thing done, he may have nothing. Now, he has a lot already, but it's not like you're going to be sitting there and be like, yeah, I had my $45 million signing bonus. They can take money out of your account. Not literally speaking. They can't go into your account, whether it's Health Fidelity or Wells Fargo, but I'm pretty sure they can find the money you already got and get that back too. 50,000 by 50,000. Every day you aren't there, more. Just like they did in leading up to your guarantees being voided. Maybe I'm wrong. I'm not trying to say incorrect things here, but I'm pretty sure that's right. But it's funny to hear him say that he doesn't mess with the 49ers, but he's also a forgiving person. And he's trying to grow. Well, I'm glad, Brandon Aiyuk. I wish you'd grow up to the point of coming to work and finally getting what you want. I guess you have some ways to go to get there. But it's funny to hear him say, like, I don't F with the 49ers, but I'm a forgiving person. You aren't that forgiving because you want to see unforgiving. Watch what San Francisco does over the next 3 years if you want to play this game. He ends the video, as you heard, by saying the only time, and again, exactly what San Francisco wants, the only time he's coming through to Levi's Stadium, is October 19th, when the Niners host the Commanders. So, one, all around fantastic news for the San Francisco 49ers. But the Niners have no intent on releasing him. So he's going to stew. And you're going to get more and more and more of these videos. We're going to see more and more and more of these videos. And if San Francisco, which they've shown the willingness now to let this thing ride out for months and months and months, Aiyuk will not play on October 19th when the Commanders come to San Francisco. If he wants to play this game, there will be no October 19th for Brandon Aiyuk until he files for reinstatement and is going to play ball and come to work. There will be no belt handed out. You will not be participating in the belt, Brandon, if you do not somehow find a way to get past your pride and come to work. Now, on top of this, and I said this on the Cover 3 podcast yesterday live on YouTube every Friday, but at what point can the 49ers make a claim that there has been some semblance of tampering? Aiyuk has Commander's gear. He had Commander film 2 years ago when he was negotiating a brand new contract with the 49ers. He has Commander's hats. He has Commander's footballs. He's openly saying he only wants to play for one team, the Washington Commanders. At what point can the NFL file a tampering or claim there's been tampering? Meaning that Aiyuk has had conversations with said team. Now, if they do file a tampering claim and it's proven the Commanders did tamper with Brandon Aiyuk while under contract with the 49ers, well, wow. You made yourself look worse again, Brandon, by letting that out of the bag, by making the team you want to play for maybe cost them a draft pick or so, cost them millions of dollars that would have gone to your pocketbook if you signed there. If I'm the 49ers, I am filing a claim right now just to see, because there's no drawbacks in doing so. If they find the Commanders had done nothing wrong, whatever, move on, cool, fine. Aiyuk still stews in his building or in his house and wastes away. But if you find Adam Peters and co. in Washington had discussed or had some discussions with Brandon Aiyuk, Aiyuk looks worse and the 49ers gain even more back. So if I'm the Commanders and have had talks with Aiyuk, you're like, hey, bro, shut up. Shut up. If you want to be a Commander bad enough, you will shut up, which makes me believe they have not talked to him. It's probably just Aiyuk wishful thinking of, God, I want to be with my boy Jaden. Because the Commanders don't want to be attached. Or like, you know how bad it looks for a team to tamper with Brandon Aiyuk right now? That's not a good look. And on top of that, too, does Brandon Aiyuk not think that Adam Peters hasn't called John Lynch to talk about him? You don't think Peters hasn't called Shanahan and Lynch and York and Marotte to say, hey, what happened? Owners talk, players talk. If you're talking to Jaden Daniel, Brandon Aiyuk, you don't think Adam Peters ain't talking to John Lynch? I got a bridge to sell you, friend. I can almost guarantee you the Washington Commanders know every single thing that has transpired that has led up to this for Brandon Aiyuk. Because John and Adam Peters are close. Do you not think Adam Peters hasn't talked to Brandon Aiyuk's agent about this? There's no confidentiality there. It's an agent. Or, in his case, former agent. Maybe. You don't think they haven't talked? The more and more and more you dive into the weeds, the Niners look better and better and better. And Aiyuk looks worse and worse and worse. No matter how you cut this, even if you are on the side that says, well, Shanahan must have said something wrong to make Aiyuk go, well, that's fine. But everything else, San Francisco hasn't said anything. They don't gain anything by Lynch changing agents. They don't gain anything by sharing their side of the story. Because their side of the story certainly seems like exactly what happened. Aiyuk failed to come the 4 days prior to OTAs so they can check him out for the rehab. He missed it. They fined him each day. He refused to come. They said, fine, guarantees are ours. Then he came to work. And at some point in time throughout there, him and Kyle got into it. He couldn't get past the ego of it. And he took his ball and went home. And now he wants to go play elsewhere. Sorry, Brandon. Sign a contract, buddy. Either be loyal to that contract and play it out. That's obviously, far-fetched, not going to happen now. Or come to the table and discuss with John and Prague and Jed and Kyle, whoever else has to be there, about what you want to have happen. File for reinstatement so you can be gone. And he's posting afterwards of the video of like, get me off your sorry-ass team. You hold the keys, man. If you are to believe, or if you are under the assumption the Niners are going to cut you because you raise enough stink, buddy, it is more likely the Commanders do not sign you than the Niners cut you. You continue to raise the stink. So that was the Brandon Aiyuk show on June 27th, a 3.5-minute video of him trying to sell you on his side of whatever this is. It's petulant. It's childish. It comes across as somebody that has no idea what's going on, that has no self-awareness whatsoever, and is willing to lose everything to eventually probably gain nothing in return. Which is just sad. But that's Brandon Aiyuk, folks. That's who he is in 2026. Drop your thoughts down below. Whose side are you on? San Francisco? Or does the video change your mind on Brandon Aiyuk? Where was I right? Where was I wrong? Call me out. Call me in. Say what you want in the comments down below. Follow us on social media at 49ers_access. That is the X or Twitter. 49ers.access is the Instagram. Use our promo code 49ers access at SeatGeek.com. 49 ERSACCESS at SeatGeek.com to save yourself $20 off your first purchase. October 19th, Niners Commanders. Will Aiyuk be there? Get your tickets now at SeatGeek.com and save yourself $20 off your purchase. Again, like, share, and subscribe. And until next time, my name is Sterling Bennett. And as always, stay faithful.